Today, I have the beautiful Teena Ryan on the Awaken Feminine podcast, and she's a fellow Perthie and also a fellow co-author of the Awaken Feminine book. Welcome to the show, Teena.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited because I think it's third time the charm. We've actually managed to get together, which is so great. And we haven't managed to catch up, I don't think, since the book launch, which is, it's been a couple of months now. So lots of exciting things on the in-between for both of us, which is great. So plenty to talk about today, which is good.
Plenty to talk about. I think we talked for like 15 minutes. I'm like, we need to get this podcast going.
Let's press record somewhere along the line.
Yeah, so much has happened, I think, for both of us, like you said, in between. But it's good to talk all about you today, and third time lucky and is always divine timing. So,
correct. Firm believer.
Yeah. So, Teena, can you share with our audience, first off, who you are and what you do?
Well, that's a very interesting question because I've really been working on that for a while. And what I boiled it down to is that I'm a change facilitator. Mm-hmm. So with an intuitive overlap thrown over the top, if that's the dress that I wear, then underneath, yes, it's a change facilitator. So whether we're moving through separation and divorce, whether we're moving through career change, whether we're just sometimes it's the little changes that are often the most difficult, and you don't always want to turn to a friend or a loved one to help move through that because most people go, well, you're perfect just the way you are, but you sense that need to peel the next layer back. Worked with a client last week on an image overhaul. So that was part of her change and stepping into her next level self and realizing some things about herself and her body and the fact that maybe she was hiding behind how she dressed because she didn't want to shine her light particularly brightly, being exceptional, as some of us women are, really great at being a wingman for other people and, that constant push and shove for everybody else. But who's actually doing that for us? So it was such a pleasure to kind of watch that transformation over the next sort of couple of days where she was going, well, what about this? And what about this? And do you think this looks good? And so it's been a joy to watch that, but that's, I suppose, just one portion of what I do when I'm helping women facilitate that next step up. It's not, I think, next level self sometimes or higher self, people get a little bit overwhelmed by the concept. It's more, I think, about the person that you want to be moving forward next week, next month, next year, rather than thinking of this ethereal person that kind of sits up in the, in the fifth dimension that you can't actually reach. It's being that person that you want to be in the next hour, in the next minute. And sometimes we just need a helping hand that's going to stroke your hair and tell you that you've got it all together, or the occasional kicking up the butt, because we often need that. So I think that's kind of a general
I love
overview.
That. I love the change facilitator. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That you've coined together. And it is. It's like you say, the higher self is like way up there and we're all like, oh, we have to be our higher self, but it can never be your higher, you already are, but it's just kind of, like you say, that, kind of slowly uncovering the different parts and the different layers and undressing and putting on a new dress.
And putting on a new outfit, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of precisely what it is in terms of, I need to feel empowered today, or I need to feel more feminine today, or I need to feel grounded or more comfortable, or it just depends on the outfit that you need for the circumstance, I think. And sometimes that's just in your mind, it's the outfit that you need to envision yourself wearing to go into that meeting or that first date, or, you know, any one of those new type situations where you're feeling not quite as confident or comfortable as you normally would.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
that's love it.
And today I am feeling furry.
You are donning your rocker chick with the gorgeous straight hair and the fabulous fur. I think it's amazing. I've gone for the warm and comfortable, seeing as it's absolutely bucketing down with rain here in Perth at the moment. So slippers on my feet and my scarf around my neck, and
yeah, I've still got my pajama pants on, but anyway.
I've upgraded to jeans. I had to go out this morning, so it was necessary.
I just love talking to you. But Teena, before we really dive into our conversation, can you share with us what's your definition of an awakened feminine?
It's a good thought, right? Because I've listened to quite a few of your podcasts, and everyone's concept of what that is radically different. Like, everybody sees it different. And I think it's the ability to look within and be true to yourself in any given moment, having exceptionally good boundaries. Boundaries take time and effort and exercise to ensure that they stay stable. But I think for me, the most part is taking care of myself first, to know that I can then be in service to others, whether it's my love, whether it's my kids, whether it's my clients, whoever it happens to be. If I'm not nurturing my own femininity, whether that's slogging it out at the gym and running 5Ks, or whether that's, you know, pressing weights, or whether it's a hot bath or a glass of wine or meditation practice, or whatever it happens to be, honouring yourself and honouring that feminine need to be comfortable and kind, but also to be in a space of receivership. I think for most women, that's a foreign concept, being comfortable in being in that space of receivership. But if we don't take care of ourselves first, we can't honour that part of our feminine nature.
Yeah, I love that definition. Thank you so much for sharing that, Teena. Now, so you're the change facilitator. I'd love to know how you came about to be the change facilitator, because I think most of us, when we, you know, kind of get into this online space of helping people and serving people, there's usually something that's happened to us that takes us to where we are now. So do you mind sharing that with us?
Yeah, no, it's interesting. I've found that I have always been one of those type of people that others would come to and verbally vomit all over, and that I had to be, you know, I learned to be quite mindful about that. But I was in a very long-term marriage, married quite early, so I was in my early 20s, and that was my journey to the awakened feminine, I suppose. I did write about it in my chapter in our co-authored book that we wrote together. But it was just this massive learning journey that I didn't know enough about myself before I got married. And it was this gradual process of learning what it meant to be a woman, what it meant to be a wife, or in my own brain, then what it meant to be, you know, the whole journey I went through to have both of my boys, and then what it meant to be a mother, and then what it meant to try and juggle business, husband, kids, friends, family, all of that sort of thing. But I think it's hard when you end up working together with your husband at the time, and you're starting that journey of discovering yourself and what's important to yourself, and you're in this 24/7 cycle with someone that's never done any real personal development, work and you're on almost on this track of like this massive acceleration, and they're like the how can I best describe it? They're kind of like the boulder that you're still attached to, and like you're desperately trying to be a better parent, a better friend, a better human, and better to yourself. But there's this constant weight that keeps pulling you back and pulling you back and pulling you back. And I had a moment where he had said to me, you know you're responsible for my happiness, don't you? And I went, hang on a minute. I think we've got some very radical different ideas here. And I said, I'm not responsible for your happiness. Happiness is an internal thing. You have to find that within yourself. And he said, oh, that's all your mumbo jumbo voodoo witchy BS. And I said, maybe, but we have some differing opinions. And it was this journey of then going, we're not a match anymore. Like, it's like outgrowing a pair of jeans, or, like, and you've worked at the gym for 12 months and all of a sudden your body shape's different and things don't fit the same way anymore. That was kind of that discovery with my marriage, is like, you don't kind of fit me anymore. You can't give me, it was that emotional nurturing, I think, that I was looking for in a partner. And he thought it was enough to put money in the bank account everywhere and work really hard, which he did, but just there were certain aspects from the relationship I was looking for that I couldn't get. I was turning to my girlfriends. I was turning to meditation circles. I was turning to all of these other sources to gain that emotional input. And it was kind of at that point where I went, yeah, I think maybe our book has come to a close. It's the final chapter, or what I thought was the final chapter. However, not so much. But at least from my point of view, that there was no need to continue the story as husband and wife anymore. And that's a hard conclusion to come to when you've been together with someone for like 22 years, like more than half of your adult life. Scary. Really scary.
Yeah. So did you have a change facilitator when you went through all that, or you had to work it all out yourself?
I would love to say that I had an amazing coach that kicked me up the butt, but what I did have was some very supportive friends in one way, and other friends that dropped me like a hot potato, because I was a bloody whingy, whiny, emotional, too hard basket type friend, constantly, one of those friends that comes to you and constantly complains about their lot in life, but is never actually prepared to put any action in place to do it. Well, I was that friend in that 12 months leading up to when I said I wanted a divorce, and they just kind of all fell away at the wayside, because anytime they'd invite me out or do something, somehow he would know I was out having fun. Like, it was almost like his antenna had gone up. And then he would ring or send a text message, and then all of a sudden I'd go back to the shrunk, contracted version of myself. And then they were like, oh, it's too hard. Can't be bothered. And I don't blame them. Honestly, when I reflect back on it, I do not blame them for, I wouldn't have wanted to have hung out with me, to be perfectly honest. So I think there's a lot to be said for having someone that's experienced going through a massive change, and having done a lot of that self-discovery work on your own. Coaches, I think, play a massively important role in helping people accelerate really quickly to their next space that they want to be in, because they hold you accountable. But from my perspective, I had 2 kids that were holding me accountable, that I had to be there for them during their grief, through their disappointment, through all of that sort of thing, while still trying to kind of hold myself together and not look like Jello that you've left out of the fridge for too long that kind of just, ends up all runny and has no solid foundation. So I'd love to say yes, but no, I was my own change facilitator in terms of holding that all together. And to be honest, I wish I had known that there were people like me available to at least to go and have a consultation or to sit down and someone to go, right, what are your next action steps? What are you going to do next? All of that sort of stuff, because it's quite easy to get sucked back into that life. But there was just something in me that said, no, you can't get sucked back. You can't. There's more that you've got to do. I just didn't know what the more was.
Yeah, it's so easy to get sucked back into the comfort of the discomfort.
Yeah.
So
absolutely.
Can you share with us like some of the tools or some of the things that really helped you to get out of that comfort zone of discomfort and not go back in there whilst also keeping yourself together?
It was really interesting because I'd gone from being like this 24/7 parent. I was the one when my kids got up, I was up with them. When, everything needed to be done, I was facilitating all of the stuff. And when all of a sudden I had a week to go, what do I want to eat? Do I like sitting in silence? Do I like playing music? There was all of these questions that I had time and space to actually ask myself, which I'd never asked myself whether I actually liked spaghetti bolognese for dinner like 3 nights a week, or whether I like to eat pancakes every Sunday. I don't. But there were all these things, like I got to discover a love of vegetarian food, and, I didn't mind a scotch on the rocks, and, just all of these things. But I think my biggest thing was journaling, like the grief process, I think that people don't see when you're going through separation and divorce is huge, like that loss of identity where you have that label of wife and partner and all of those things tattooed across the top of your head. For someone all of a sudden, and it was me who ripped it off, don't get me wrong, but to have that label ripped off and then going, I don't know who the hell I am underneath being a wife and a mother. Like, I had never given myself the time and the space to work that out, but through a lot of tears and about, I should have had a small investment in Kleenex because I used quite a lot of that, and really long walks on the beach with my little dog and going to yoga. My GP recommended to me, actually, and he was amazing. He said, Teen, you've got to work out who you are. You've got to give yourself the time and space to discover things about yourself. So I religiously went to yoga 3 nights a week, and I religiously journaled every day, and I meditated and screamed a lot, punched the pillows a lot. There was a lot of things, but I think that the basis of it was the journaling and the meditation and that physical movement of just moving all of those emotions and energy out of my body made such a massive, massive difference. But there's still lingering guilt after, nearly 7 years of being out of the relationship. And my boys are one's grown, like he's out doing his own thing. And my other son's not far behind, but, there's still always going to be that. But then I had a moment where someone said, you can't muck up their life path. They chose you before they even came and were delivered in their human suits. They chose you for a reason, because there was something here that you needed to facilitate for them or to, help them learn and understand. So I gave up the guilt and the worry that, I had done something wrong, when in actual fact, both of them have turned around to me at separate times and said, we're really glad you did what you did because, we have an amazing relationship with you. We know that you're always there, but we don't have to live in the same space to know that, that you're always on the other end of the phone. So I think it's nice when your kids turn out okay, and they turn out to be decent humans, that you haven't completely screwed them up in the process of going through separation and divorce. But, they're not the only kids on the planet to go through that. So, I can only hope that they take it in their stride and they learn that being happy is a birthright, and that you should feel a level of happiness about your life every single day.
Yeah. That's so beautiful that they've both turned around at different points to say that, because I think as a parent, that's just like,
it was like,
yeah.
I can breathe, like it's almost like you're holding this perpetual, like, breath in, thinking, have I done it right? Have I done it right? And when, when they give you this massive permission slip, it's almost like you can breathe again and go,
yeah,
I've done it, and we're all okay. We've kind of made it out the other side, and
yeah,
we're better for it, I think.
Exactly. And like you said, happiness is your birthright. You're showing them that you have a choice to create a life where you are happy instead of living a life where you're not happy. Because imagine continuing to live that life and they can see, oh, okay, it's normal to be unhappy and just be in the same space because, you don't want to offend anyone or,
Well, you don't want to rock the boat, right?
Yeah.
Like everybody else surrounding you is comfortable with the status quo of you being what appears to be the perfect, happy wife with, she's got the pretty house and she's got all the lovely toys and, they've got a successful business and they've got all the things. And on the inside, you're practically dead. Like, there's no spirit left. There's no joy. There is no happiness, or very limited, like, you don't want your happiness to be like pops of colour when you're decorating your house. It kind of needs to be this overall thing. And one of my boys had said to me when I think we were probably 3 years into going through that separation divorce journey, he said, Mum, you're really weird. And I'm like, okay.
Thanks.
That's kind of a given. But anyway, and I said, why am I weird, mate? And he's like, because you're singing and you're happy. And I'm like, yeah, I do that all the time. He said, no, you don't. He said, when we were at the other house, you never did that. And I was like, oh, that's a very sobering moment, because I think at the time he was probably like 11. For him to turn around and say something, 11, 12, I think, or coming up for 12. And it was just like, oh, wow, for a little person to notice the difference between what a woman that is working through her shiz but still can find the joy and the happiness, and what that looked like for him was like, oh, right, okay. Yeah, I can see the difference, and it was nice that he could too, I think.
Yeah. Wow. Kids are so perceptive. They are.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. So then, okay, so you've done all your, gone through the divorce, doing your work. When did you decide that you're going to help other people? Because I know you had a business before with your ex-husband.
Yeah.
So did you let that business go when the relationship ended? And
No, I stepped away from that. Like I worked with him for a couple of years before the divorce came through because I just wasn't sure what else I was going to do. And we'd had other plans for what the business was going to look like, but that didn't come to fruition. The universe was gently guiding me in a different way. We had a business coach towards the latter half of when I was working in the business, and he had said to me, have you ever thought about being a coach? And of course, at the time, I've got, oh, no, I've got a business, I've got children. No, no, no. He said, because you're really good at explaining things like in a visual sense to help people understand. And then when I'd kind of gone, this situation working here is not kosher anymore, we've got to get out, I rang him and sort of said, hey, he'd done all the when business coaches come into, they do all the personality profiling to sort of make sure that you're in the right space working in the business. And he came back to me a couple of days later and said, would you like to come and work with me? And what I really loved about that was actually working with people, like understanding, so why are you this type of business? Why do you have this type of business? What excites you? What lights you up? Are you taking good care of yourself? Or, like, because I'm an extremely visual person, a lot of the people that were coming in, I would just get this really clear visual of a candle burning at both ends, and them not seeing the edge of the cliff, that they were literally about to rocket off the side because they were working, 14 plus hours a day. Their wives were complaining or their husbands were complaining that they weren't seeing them. The kids weren't spending any, it was just a massive mess. And what I found, there wasn't enough of that interaction on the human level because, with business coaching, people sort of think that, the business and the human are separate, and they're not. They're one in the same, right? So you can't take your business brain out and plop it on the bench when you come home and it's just the human, it's just the personal side of things, and you can't swap it when you go back in to work the next day. It doesn't, because if you've had a fight with your kids or you're running late or all of that sort of stuff is still processing in your brain as you're trying to run your business and do all the stuff. So I just found that after a while, I really wanted to concentrate on the people and not so much, the business would essentially become part of it, but the people were more important to me. And once I had finally organised my financial settlement with my ex-husband, that I had time and space to kind of go, oh, I'd really like to do this. But I think it's one of those things, it's a constant evolution of who you are and what you do and what that looks like. And that, catchphrase, change facilitator, that's really only come about in the last couple of months because it was a matter of trying to boil down to the true, like, essential oil of what it was that I do. And I'm a catalyst. Like, I will literally come into someone's space and act as a catalyst to enable change. And so it was like, well, I think that's the simplest way that I can explain it. So I went on a little journey and I started a little business, and it's still a work in progress for me in finding, clients that fit me best and, people that I fit best with as well, in helping them overcome whatever it is that they think they can't overcome. I come with a very unique perspective. It's not a traditional, I have, coaching qualifications. I have a lot of life qualifications, I think, is the best way to put it. And, I'm not going to be everybody's cup of tea and I'm not going to be everybody's flavour. But for those that don't mind a little bit of spiritual and a little bit of woo-woo and a little bit of practicality, they're going to get all of that wrapped up in me. So that's kind of in a nutshell, I suppose, what I do now. And I love helping to facilitate those changes for people to go, I'm happy and, you know, I'm excited about what's coming next, you know, and I think all of us should have that opportunity to feel that level of excitement about our life, irrespective of our age.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree with that. And I just love that, you know, reminder that we're always like evolving, like, you know, from what we were doing the business and the life coaching together to then now more focusing on the life part, which then does help with your business as well.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we're whole. We're not like one part and this part. You can't kind of, like you said, you can't leave one at the door and go, I'll pick it up later. I'm just going to leave you there and come back later.
But I think that's the whole part about being on that entrepreneurial journey or owning a business or any of that sort of stuff. We need to understand that there is a very delicate balance between caring for ourselves and caring for the people that are in our lives and feeling extremely passionate about what we do and making sure that that passion for what we do doesn't override our need to be present and mindful of the people in our space that have been there and that have been supportive. And, you know, whether it's, you know, partners in, you know, or husbands or wives or whatever it happens to be, that we need to be aware that they're there and they're helping to carry the load, but it's a little more silently than what you as the, you know, the business front are doing it, but they're carrying it with you all the same, irrespective of whether they're involved in your business or not.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, just looking at what I do, my husband like carries a lot of it, even though he's got zero knowledge of really what I do or like, you know, how the business runs. He picks up the things that I can't do as much of because I've got my business stuff because I work from home. So, you know, all those kind of things. Yeah. So definitely. And I love what you say about that kind of like evolving your business. As you evolve, your business also evolves. So I'm currently at the figuring out what I want to do when I grow up again stage. And I'm like, I thought I went through that, but I'm kind of there again.
It's that constant, it's cyclic, right? And that's what I think a lot of people don't understand is that the healing journey of whatever it is, whatever trauma it is that we're healing and we're working through, it's constant. It's that Ferris wheel. You know, you're going to come up in the highs of thinking, yes, I've got it together and life's all happening. And then you might slide down the side and go, oh, geez, I didn't consider that. And then you're popping back up the other side and then you're riding the highs again. But I think so long as we take that point of view that it's always constantly in motion, then you expect that there will be the highs and the lows all thrown in together. But I think what the journey teaches us is the ability to hold more, our capacity to hold the yucky, sticky, icky bits equally as good as what we hold the joy and the fun and the excitement and the happy bits. We just get better at holding the weight because we sense the triggers within ourselves or when the emotions come up and, oh, that feels really uncomfortable and I don't really like it very much. You recognise it. Whereas normally, you know, we would fly off at, you know, your partner or your kids or your best mate and say all sorts of mean, horrible, nasty stuff because you're not prepared to look. But as we become more awakened, I think we have the ability to assess that, oh, okay, maybe there's a little bit of work I still need to do in that space. Thank you for putting a mirror up and showing me that there's still work to do, because all the people in our life do act like that.
Yeah.
You know, they are the mirrors for all the shiz that our souls have to work out this time round.
Yeah. And yeah, and sometimes the Ferris wheel goes faster and other times it's a bit slower. And you're like, but but it's cyclical, but it's not like the same time frame.
It's not the same time frame, it's not the same speed. Sometimes they're quantum leaps, you know, that it happens within a blink of an eye and go, how did I get here? Oh, that's right. I had to go through that stuff. But you kind of hope that you don't necessarily tread in the same potholes.
Yeah.
You know, that there's enough of an awareness to sidestep it. But then don't expect that there isn't another pothole 2 foot over that's just a little bit different and varied in depth and size that you might stumble in, or you might see it and go, oh, I avoided that one. So it's a little bit of a leapfrogging game, I think, this life that we have.
Yeah. And like you say, it's every single time it's that increased level of awareness, which then helps you to cope with the next time something similar happens. It won't be the same, but you have the tools to go, oh, okay, right.
Thank you for testing me to see if I've really learnt what I needed to learn, or whether there was a further layer that we had to uncover and go, oh, there's layer 52.
It's like, damn, I step into the same hole again.
Or you know what? You know, sometimes for some people it's like, oh, he showed up in a different set of pants. Oh, you know, like it's that whole, you know, like for me it was the dating thing after, you know, I finally came out of my cage and went, oh, I don't like that. Oh, okay. I need to reframe that again for myself as to what my boundaries are and what's important to me. But yeah, I think Oprah termed it, she came to Perth a while ago and she said the same lesson will keep showing up in a different set of pants until you've learnt it.
Yeah.
She said, and then you'll get a different lesson, but it won't be the same lesson.
Yep.
But that for me is just such a really great visual that it's almost like it's the same meat suit showing up in a different set of pants. You know, there's a different soul in there, but it's the lesson. You know, the universe is constantly testing us to see if 3/4 of okay is okay, or whether we're prepared to wait for it to be 100% right. You know, how strong are those, you know, boundaries of the things that we want? You know, are we prepared to hold out for it being okay or perfect? You know, imperfectly perfect.
Yeah. Perfect for you.
Yeah.
Perfect for you. So when you said boundaries the first time, I was like, oh, I think we're going to talk about boundaries. And then you mentioned it again. I'm like, oh, I need to talk to you about boundaries. Did you have boundaries before? And if you didn't, how did you learn to put them in place?
Oh, no, I was like a willow tree. I would bend 6 ways from Sunday. I was a people pleaser, you know, reformed addict here. In terms of, I was desperate to make, because I was unhappy, I was desperate to make everybody around me happy. You know, I would take more and more and more and more stuff on and then wonder why I was completely burnt out, exhausted, had nothing left to give. But yeah, it really wasn't until probably in the last couple of years I've got really good. And then all last year was a constant test with having my younger son live with me full time. Was that boundary thing all the time, in terms of, you know, when I've said I'm not going to wake you up in the morning and I'm not going to drive you to school, and, you know, and how quickly did I break my own rules? And it wasn't until I've made this last move where I'm not in close proximity to his school. He lives with me, you know, like a couple of days every second weekend. So it's not all the time, but it's given me a real sense of appreciation of when I say no, I can't do it, why I need to say no, I can't do it, and that no is a complete sentence, and that I don't have to give an explanation. Just, no, I can't facilitate that today. You'll have to find another way. And not feel guilty for saying no, and not feel guilty for putting myself first. The amount of times I cancelled morning meetings and, you know, kind of let my business drop down into below a simmer mode because there was this constant upheaval with a teenager who didn't want to go to school, who wouldn't get out of bed. And it was just hard work. But for me, putting that, I have to put myself first. And it's amazing how the universe has responded now that I have chosen to put myself first, and that my boys are now appreciating me more. And when they're asking for help, I'm asking them to look at themselves first and go, could you maybe do that better? Do you really need my help, or you just want someone that you can growl and yell at to get over your upset? But yeah, for me, it's clearly essential, but it's always a constant test. It's always a constant, is this what I desire to do in order to be of service to somebody else? Or am I doing this so that they'll love me more, or they'll appreciate me more, or, you know, out of some sort of, I don't know, perverse need to want to mother everybody? You know, when am I putting myself first and mothering me?
Yeah.
And it's really only been in the last couple of months that I have gone whole hog into mothering myself, putting my needs first, and the lightness of being that comes with that. I think it's an unknown thing unless you've had the opportunity to try it out. The weight that comes off your back with not having to constantly worry about where everybody else is and going, what do I need today? And that is the first question that gets asked. What do I need today? And then it'll be, oh, I might go for a walk with the dog. Oh, I might go to the gym. Oh, I might sit and journal. Or, oh, I might just have a cup of tea in bed and read my book. You know, those things are open to me now, whereas before I was putting everybody else ahead of myself and trying to rush to get everything fitted in. And I know there's probably a lot of women who do that.
Yeah. And yeah, I just love that. The mothering yourself. I think women are very bad at mothering themselves. We are very good at mothering everyone else but ourselves. So that is just such a great reminder. And yeah, to ask yourself what you need, because we just don't do that enough. We, like you said, you know, did everything for your boys, but what about you? And it's we've been programmed and conditioned to do that. We don't
and
need
it's
to.
just that level of guilt, like, you know, it's almost been ingrained in the fact that we come dead last, if not less than dead last, in terms of prioritizing ourselves and our self-care. And it doesn't mean bloody hot baths and a glass of red wine. You know, it can, but just simple things, you know, having space to have a shower for as long as you need to, that you're not, the minute the alarm goes off, you're rushing out of bed, you know, you're going into rushing mode before you've even given yourself chance to say thank you for waking up again today. And, you know, and to have the space to be able to go, oh, I've woken up half an hour before the alarm. Amazing. I can go and have a really quiet cup of tea with nobody interrupting my space to be able to be with me and go, okay, what's today going to bring? You know, set some intentions for your day, all of that sort of stuff. You don't have that when you're constantly in rush mode.
Yeah. Yeah, I think as women also we get taught to be the martyr to like, if we look after our children, then we're good mums, even if we are completely exhausted and all those things.
Yeah.
And, you know, um, if you're a woman with young children, you're like, well, I don't have time to take a shower. I always hear people say that. I never understood that bit. Maybe, I don't know.
No.
I have, but I always took a shower, even when my baby was like little. Like I see these memes on social media and it's like, oh, I haven't showered for like 3 days or something. And I'm like, but I don't get like, obviously if you have depression and all those things, that's a different story. But
Yeah.
yeah, but it was like, oh, I haven't showered for 3 days because I was, nurturing my baby and making it sound like, they're the, just, I think there's this need to prove that you're a good mum. I think that's what I'm
Yeah,
trying to get at.
yeah, but that it's
Yeah.
the key to success. If I haven't showered, if I haven't washed my hair, if I haven't done my hair and my makeup and made myself feel presentable, and it's really easy to lose yourself when you're a new mum or you're a mum of little humans or you're a mum of teenagers or, it's your kids have moved out of home. Just at any stage, there's never been this message that it's okay to put ourselves first. I think that's the biggest thing that, any woman can do is honor herself first, and for people to get self-care as selfish BS out of their head and to go, no, what do I need? Because if you honor your own needs first, then you're happier, you're healthier, you can be of service to your kids, to your community, to your partner, to anybody that comes along and feel good and not feel like you've been ripped off. It's not like you're standing out on the washing line going, I'm the only sod that hangs up the bloody washing and I'm the only person that does this. We fail to put our hand up and ask for help because if we think by putting up our hand, it makes us look weaker or not capable or that we haven't got it all going on. We have. I don't think there's ever been a time in history where women have been seen as being these all-encompassing, well-rounded, well-adjusted, we can run a business, we can, give birth to children, we can still keep exercising and look, model and $1 million ready and all of, take a breath, people, just there's stages in our life.
Yes.
But, honouring what you need today first. If you take anything out of today, honour yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And even that means finding your favourite mug, making a cup of tea, locking yourself in the bathroom if you have to get 5 minutes peace and quiet. Even if you've got grown-up kids, sometimes it's really important to find your Harry Potter moment and, just go sit under the stairs and just be away from everyone and go, this is just for me. They don't have to be this massive hour to carve out all this time. You're just 5 minutes to regroup and regather yourself because it will make you better at what you do, whether it be your job, whether it be motherhood, whether it be partnership, whatever. It just helps you cope better.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Yeah. And sometimes that 5 minutes is all you need. I mean, I've got little kids. Mine are, turning 8 and 4 soon. But I would say, Mummy just needs 5 minutes. You guys stay outside. Do not come in. And sometimes it might be, I just need to have a cry. And it's okay to cry. Sometimes you just, these like, I wasn't sad, but sometimes, all these things build up and you just need that moment to just release it and come back out and you're,
and it's
better.
Sometimes they're going through a really emotional space and we as mothers want to take that pain away. So we take all of that emotion on board, but because it's not ours, we've got to find a way of getting rid of it or otherwise it just becomes baggage that we carry.
Yeah.
And tears are probably one of the best ways, or I found screaming into a pillow is quite effective.
I've never actually done that before. I might give that a try next time.
Yeah, or using a pillow like a punching bag,
Yeah.
whatever your methodology is, or just doing some sort of movement to release the energy, because it's just holding on really tight in your body. You've just got to let it out some way. But yeah, screaming's effective.
Yeah.
Or singing or dancing or something, just do whatever comes to mind.
Yeah. It's again the thing where you said asking yourself what you need.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. And boundaries is a form of self-care as well.
Mm-hmm.
So,
absolutely. And ask for help.
Yes.
It's even if worse comes to worse, even if you've got to ask your mother-in-law, or you've got to ask your neighbour, or you've got to ask someone to pick up your kids or pick something up at the grocery store, or, can you have the kids for 20 minutes? I just need a sanity break. Or don't be ashamed in putting your hand up and asking for help, because otherwise I think we can become very isolated, and people look on the outside and see that, oh, 𝐓𝐞𝐞𝐧𝐚 got it all together, and she, it's all happening for her, and she's got books and podcasts and all the stuff going on, where 𝐓𝐶𝐞�̈𝐾𝐿 going, can someone please see that I need 20 minutes to myself?
Yeah. Yeah. And that is the thing. Like, people, like, now I do ask for help. So my husband and I have this thing where if I'm getting to the point where I need a break, I can actually book myself into a hotel for a few days and actually go.
Nice.
So that's when, like, hitting crisis point, right? But
a little bit.
Yeah. But back in the days when I used to work, because I was, Miss Perfectionist, even though I was falling apart on the inside, on the outside, I was always like making sure everyone was okay. But no one ever would ask me if I was okay. And that's not including work, it's including my friends, because everyone thinks I have it together and I'm such a good mother for, like, my friends and everyone else, that no one asks. But sometimes it's those people that you need to ask, because they're trying to keep it together for everyone else.
Yeah, because I think I've said it with a couple of friends now, and I'll just reach out and say, how are you? And then the next line will be, really, with a couple of question marks. And then, oh, I'm this and that. And I'm going, no, really, how are you? Ask your supremely independent, hardworking friends that you think they've got their shits together. They're the ones you need to ask, in going, is there anything I can do to help you today? Even if your day is jam-packed, even if it's having a conversation in the car on the way to picking up the kids or going to an appointment. How are you, babe? Really? What's going on? What can I do to help? And a lot of women, and I was one of those, would say, no, I'm fine, everything's great. But then occasionally I would turn around and go, you know what? It's shit and I hate my life, and I need some help, or I need some time out away from the kids or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, check on your strong, independent friends.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I really think women have been lied to, having the whole, we need to have everything together, like you said before, run the business, be the great mother, be the great friend, be the great daughter, and all those things we have to have.
Be the sexy wife and have the hot body and want to have sex all the time and all the stuff.
Yeah, we have been lied to. And that's what keeps women stuck, because we have been sold this lie that we need to be perfect in every way, practically perfect in every way, like Mary Poppins, right? And it is not possible.
True. No.
It's not true. Yeah. And that's what keeps us all stuck and exhausted and tired.
And you know what? We're stronger as a collective.
Yes.
So if we work together as a collective, and I think that's what we found when we worked together on the book, that as a community, as a collective of women, there was such an intensity of power and knowledge and genuine love and care and concern
Yeah.
And if you don't have those women in your life, connect up with us. We will help you find that community of women that will help you be that better person that feels more comfortable putting their hand up and asking for help and knowing that it's okay not to have your shiz together every single day. It's so okay to be imperfect.
Yeah. Okay.
Celebrate your quirkiness, your uniqueness, your difference. Yeah. Don't try and Stepford wife yourself. Don't try and mold yourself into the practically perfect, because you're not. You're beautiful just the way you are. And you know what? If you don't like it, make some changes. Yeah. If you're not happy, make some changes.
Yeah.
Start with little things and then build it, because that's the best way.
Yep. Oh, I love talking to you, but I'm looking at the time.
It's time to pack up your kit and go home.
Stop talking. But yes, when we did our book, like the sisterhood energy, the collective of women, that energy, like together we can do anything, like really. So yeah, exactly what Teena said. And changes, we've got Teena here. If you need to make changes, you've got your change facilitator here. So yeah. So Teena, before we go, I love, you kind of mentioned this already, but what's the one thing you'd like our audience to take home with them after listening to our conversation?
That asking for help to make little changes will, pardon the French, change your life. Putting your hand up and saying, I'm not sure what's the next best step. Ask. You do not need to struggle, because there have been others who have walked the path in front of you, and they can help you avoid the potholes that they've fallen into. That's what we're here for, is that we're holding the light up so that other women can walk, in our footsteps, so that they can lead change in their life and in the lives of the people that surround them. So put your hand up, do your life-saving arm and say, hey, just a little bit of help, might be drowning just a fraction. Reach out, because, we love nothing better than being of service to other women and helping them awaken to their true potential. So reach out, find us. And if we're not the right fit, you know what? We know lots of other women who might be.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Teena, what's currently setting your soul on fire?
I started a new podcast. Yes. And it's addictive, right? It's having those amazing conversations that our podcast is called The Divine Mess, which is, as far as I'm concerned, perfectly describes life. Yeah. So I co-host that with my very gorgeous friend who is a 𝐓𝐞𝐞𝐧𝐚. And so we have the science and the practicality, and we talk about divine feminine energy and empowered masculine energy and how we incorporate that into our daily. And we both provide, I think, a really unique point of view on life, relationships. Nothing is too difficult a conversation, but there'll always be joy and fun and laughs along the way. So that at the moment is really exciting me, and just meeting new people. I'm really keen to meet new humans. So if people want to get in touch and have a virtual coffee or a coffee in person, I love learning from other people. So, come on down, come and play. Let's have some fun.
Yay. Yes, I love all that. And I can't wait to, listen to your podcast. I mean, it's quite new, but I mean, I'm just like, yay. I can't wait to dive in and listen to it. And so if people do want to have a coffee with you and or just want to learn more about you in general, where's the best place to go?
Probably Instagram and Facebook. My business name is Dharmas and Co. So DHARMAS and Co. So is the yogic word for life purpose. So we endeavour to help people find their life purpose through changing out of the old outfits and trying something new on for size. So we look forward to hearing from you. And thank you again, my beautiful friend, for having me on your podcast. It's been an absolute joy having a chat with you.
Yes, I love chatting to you. So you're more than welcome to come back any other time.
Oh, excellent. And, once we get ourselves up and running, we will start to have some humans on the podcast apart from ourselves. So we will be looking forward to having and inviting our friends along for the journey to share their wisdom too with our audience. So I can't wait.
Yay, exciting.
But until then, they can find our book, which Kaki has purposely placed.
Yes, purposely placed. So, yeah, let's do a shameless plug. Find our book on Amazon.
Yes.
You can get your Kindle copy or a physical copy. And, yeah, it's got our stories, Teena's story, my story, and another 20 beautiful women's stories.
Other souls that are amazing.
Yes.
And I'm rereading in sections because there's plenty of golden nuggets.
Yes, for sure. Thank you. And make sure you also go and listen to Teena's podcast as well. So thank you.
No worries. Thanks, darling.